There's a kind of peace you can only find in the dead of night, at a ribbon of asphalt cutting through the middle of nowhere. For me, that nowhere is usually the Mojave Desert. People who've never done it, they think it's boring, an empty, dead space between Vegas and LA. But they're wrong. The desert at night isn't empty. It's full of absence. It's a blackness so complete it feels like it could swallow the light from your own headlights. It presses in on the cab, a heavy, silent thing. I was on a long haul out of Barstow, pushing east. The load was heavy, the coffee was getting stale, and the talk radio host I'd been listening to for the past 2 hours had finally signed off, replaced by the low hiss of static. My rig, she's an old girl, but a good one, and the steady drone of her diesel engine was the only thing keeping me anchored to the world. It's a hypnotic sound, the rumble in your seat, the rhythmic thump-thump of the tires on the pavement. It can lull you into a strange state, halfway between awake and dreaming. They call it road hypnosis. You see things, a deer that looks like a man for a split second, a rock that looks like a wolf. Your mind plays tricks to keep itself busy. I'd been driving for maybe 10 hours straight, with only a couple of quick stops for fuel and a bitter hot dog. My eyes felt like sandpaper. The dashboard glowed a comforting green, the only color in a world of black and white. I remember leaning my head against the cool glass of the window for a moment, just watching the white lines on a road spool out in front of me, endless. It's in those moments you feel like the last man on earth, just you, your truck, and the long, lonely road. And that's when you're most vulnerable. That's when the desert decides to show you the things it keeps hidden during the day. I was just another tired trucker trying to make my deadline. I had no idea that the desert had decided to show me something that night. It started with a flicker, a little twitch of motion in my passenger side mirror. I blinked, chalked it up to tired eyes, and took another sip of my cold coffee. But the desert wasn't done with me, not by a long shot. You learn to trust your mirrors out on the road. They're your extra set of eyes. They tell you about the four-wheeler trying to pass you in your blind spot, the state trooper hiding in the distance. You learn the difference between the shimmer of heat haze and the reflection of real steel. So when I saw it again, I knew it wasn't just my mind playing tricks. It was in the same mirror, the passenger side. A flicker at first. Just at the edge of the light, my running boards cast on the asphalt. I focused on it, trying to make it out against the inky blackness. It wasn't an animal. It was too tall, too upright. It was a shape, a silhouette of a man, but not quite. It was too thin, and the way it moved was wrong. It wasn't bobbing up and down like a person running. It was a smooth, gliding motion, like a ghost on skates. It was keeping pace with my rig, right alongside the rear of my trailer. My first thought was, well, I didn't have one. My brain just refused to process it. Maybe a motorcyclist with his lights off? A crazy marathon runner? Nah, that was stupid. We were miles from any town. The air was cold, and this thing, this shape, it was moving effortlessly. I slowed the truck down, letting my foot off the accelerator. My speed dropped from 65 to 55. I watched the mirror. The shape slowed down with me, staying in the exact same spot relative to my trailer. A cold knot formed in my stomach. I pressed the accelerator again, pushing the rig back up to 65, then 70. The shape matched my speed instantly, without any sign of effort. It was just there, a silent passenger running in the dark. The radio, which had been hissing quietly, suddenly crackled with a loud burst of static, then went completely silent. The only sound left was the roar of my engine and the frantic pounding of my own heart. Fear is a funny thing. For a second, it freezes you solid. Your hands get clammy, your breath catches in your throat. Then, the other instinct kicks in, flight. I didn't know what that thing was, but I knew I didn't want it anywhere near me. My foot slammed down on the accelerator. We call it putting the hammer down. The old diesel engine roared in protest, black smoke billowing from the stacks as I demanded everything it had. The whole cab shuddered as we gained speed. 75 miles per hour. I risked a glance in the mirror. It was still there, a perfect, dark silhouette against a blacker background. Running, running, running. Its form never changed, its speed never faltered. It was like it was tethered to my truck by an invisible rope. 80. The tires were screaming. The wheel was vibrating in my white-knuckled grip. I was breaking every law and safety rule in the book, pushing a fully loaded 18-wheeler far beyond its limits on a dark desert highway. My eyes were glued to that mirror. The shape was still there. It looked like it was getting closer, like it was trying to close the gap between the shoulder and my tires. I imagined a thin, shadowy hand reaching out, trying to touch the spinning rubber. The thought sent a jolt of pure terror through me that was colder than the desert air. 85. The engine was screaming a prayer. The frame of the truck felt like it was about to be torn apart. I was flying, a metal beast tearing through the night, and that thing was still right there. It wasn't even breathing hard. It wasn't breathing at all. It was just a void, a piece of the night that had peeled itself away from the rest of the darkness to chase me. I knew then I couldn't outrun it. You can't outrun something that doesn't get tired. My only hope was to find light, to find people, to find anywhere that wasn't this empty, haunted stretch of road. I started scanning the horizon, praying for a sign, any sign of life. For what felt like an eternity, there was nothing, just the endless road and the silent, running thing in my mirror. My mind was racing. What happens if it catches me? Does it just run alongside me forever? Or does it do something else? My imagination was running wild with possibilities, each one worse than the last. I was so focused on the mirror, so consumed by the panic that I almost missed it. A tiny pinprick of light, far in the distance, a weak, flickering yellow, was probably miles away, but it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. A gas station, a truck stop, civilization, salvation. Finding that light gave me a new surge of adrenaline. It was a destination, a finish line. I didn't take my foot off the gas. I kept the hammer down, pushing the rig towards that distant glow like my life depended on it, and I was pretty sure it did. The miles crawled by, and the light grew from a pinprick to a small hazy beacon. I could start to make out the shape of a sign, the outline of a building. I risked one last look in the mirror. The shadow was still there, a relentless phantom at my flank. I roared off the highway and into the parking lot of the gas station, not even slowing down properly. The air brakes hissed and squealed in protest as I skidded to a stop on the cracked asphalt, way too close to the pumps. The truck lurched to a halt. For a second, I just sat there, my whole body trembling. The sudden silence was deafening after the roar of the engine. Then my training, my instinct kicked in. I killed the engine, grabbed a tire iron from behind my seat. I don't know why. What was I going to do? Beat a shadow to death? And threw the door open. I jumped down onto the ground, my boots crunching on the gravel, and spun around to face the side of my trailer. And there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just the still, cold desert air and the quiet hum of the gas station's buzzing fluorescent lights. The road behind me was empty. The shadow was gone. I stood there for a long time, chest heaving, tire iron gripped in my hand like a weapon. The sudden normalcy of the place was almost as jarring as the chase itself. The smell of gasoline, the lone soda machine humming against the wall, the dim light spilling from the station's windows. It felt real. It made what I had just seen feel impossible. Had I dreamed it all? A waking nightmare brought on by exhaustion? I needed to see another human being. I tossed the tire iron back in the cab and walked on shaky legs towards the station door. A little bell chimed as I pushed it open. The place was old and dusty and smelled of stale coffee and motor oil. Behind the counter was an old man, thin as a rail, with a face as cracked and weathered as the desert floor. He was slowly wiping down the counter with a rag, and he didn't look up right away. "Coffee's fresh, if you can call it that," he said, his voice raspy. I just stood there, trying to catch my breath. I just saw something," I stammered, feeling like a fool. "Out on the highway, a man, a shadow, running alongside my truck." The old man stopped wiping the counter. He looked up at me, and his eyes weren't surprised. They were ancient, and they held a deep, weary sadness. He slowly nodded like I had just told him the sky was blue. "You were pushing it hard, weren't you?" I just nodded. He picked up a glass and started polishing it with his rag. "That's the Shadow Man," he said, his voice low and even. "He lives out here in the desert. Been here longer than the road, I reckon. Some say he's a prospector who lost his way, died running for water. Others say he's something else, something older." He looked me dead in the eye, and a chill that had nothing to do with the night air ran down my spine. "He's always looking for a ride," the old man said. "He'll chase you, see if you're fast enough, see if you're paying attention. But if you stop, if you falter, if you let him catch you, you'll be his ride forever." I never found out what that meant, and I never want to. I bought 2 cups of his coffee, filled my tank, and got back on the road. But I don't drive through the Mojave at night anymore if I can help it. And when I do, I never let my speed drop. I never look too long in my mirrors, and I always make sure I have enough fuel to make it to the light. Because I know the desert isn't empty. It's just waiting. And the Shadow Man is always running.